Good morning, guys, from Unfrequented World. I'm Gary, and it's midwinter, not a lot to do outside, so I thought I'd show you guys something very important that I've learned over the years that you should do with all of your lenses and cameras and teleconverters, and that's micro adjusting your lenses. There are a multitude of ways you can do this. You can buy charts, set up your tripod, and put it on a 45-degree angle. And you have lines in front and in behind, and it'll show you how to get focus on the zero line. Well, I don't use that method. I found a method that works for me years ago, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So before I get a ton of you guys saying, oh, that's no good, it doesn't work, it does work, and you just have to give it a try. You have to be a little patient with how you set it up. And I'm going to use a technique that I showed you guys in another video, and that's overlapping in Photoshop with 100% pixel peeping view to show you exactly what shots you're getting. So to do this, you've got to use a tripod. You've got to make sure you use a timer, 2-second timer, and you have to have good light. So what I do for this test, I've got a Sigma 75-200 lens here. It's an oldie, it's a beaut, it's razor sharp. But when I bought it, I thought, oh, this lens is horrible, and I couldn't figure out why. Because it needed micro adjusting. So this lens, I'll show you guys, 2.8 is probably one of my sharpest lenses once it's micro adjusted. But it takes a big micro adjustment on this lens. It's a -14 on my A99, and I think it's a -6 on my A77. So what I'm going to do is show you guys my setup, how we do it. I'll show you the comparison shots in Photoshop, and then I'm going to give you a couple more pointers about how to keep some files at the end so that you don't forget. Because if you have 20-30 lenses like I do, you won't remember more than one camera. You won't remember with a teleconverter. You're going to need that chart. So when you're going to go out for the day and you want to grab your 300, the camera will remember most of your settings. The reason you want the chart is because when you put a teleconverter on there, sometimes it doesn't recognize the teleconverter, and you've got to remember that setting yourself. So anyway, let's get on with it. I'll show you how it works. And I want you guys to also ignore the fact that I'm using my video tripod head, but my other tripods are in use right now. One of them's got my big 300 over there on it, which I'm going to use later today for some birding. And the other one is upstairs on another project. So we're using the video head, so disregard that. It doesn't matter what you use, as long as it's holding your camera steady. And what we also have to keep in mind for this test is I'm going to be shooting the very fine text on the wall over there on those diplomas. Yes, those are all my diplomas. Smart guy, right? Anyway, we use the diploma. It doesn't matter. I like to keep a good distance, 10, 12 feet. And we've got to make sure that the camera is parallel. So your plane of focus has to be straight up and down 90 degrees with what you're going to shoot. Okay, so that's important. If you tilt the camera this way, the lens this way, or this way, it's going to change your depth of field. So your focus will not be exact. Micro focus is very precise adjustment for things that are not moving. So if you're shooting things that are moving, your micro focus is not going to matter 100%. As long as your lens is close, which in this case with this lens, like I said, -16, it's nowhere close. So I could never get a sharp shot, especially on anything moving, but I really noticed it for birds and squirrels and things that were sitting still. I still could not get a sharp shot. Okay, so the camera is set up. It's parallel to what we're going to shoot. And what you need to decide is, with a zoom lens, do you want to micro focus adjust for the long end of the lens or the short end? What are you using this zoom lens for more? And for me, it's always the long end. I focus everything. I'll zoom in to 200 to do these tests and take these shots. I'll make a micro focus adjustment so that at 200 millimeters, this lens will be razor. That means at 70 millimeters, it's going to be off just a hair, which it's a compromise with the zoom lens. If you get it close enough, it will still be pretty good. So let's go ahead. I want you to also remember that to do this test, you got to have your widest aperture, right? We want the thinnest slice, the thinnest depth of field we're going to get on that document hanging on the wall over there. If you've got this set to f8, you could go through 8 or 9 steps of micro focus adjustment and you won't notice any difference. So you got to open up your lens all the way, 2.8 in this case. We're going to zoom in at 200 and take a shot with the camera set to micro focus adjustment 0. Okay, that's where we're going to start. And to do that, I also set the timer on the camera so that we don't have any shake coming from me. So I'm going to set this up in a second. We're going to point it, we're going to get it set up, and we're going to shoot right there, and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see the screen with the light on here, but we are at 1/80th. This zoom lens goes to f3.5. It's the smallest aperture when it's zoomed into 200, and I'm using ISO 640. Okay, so we're going to have decent detail, and I'm going to just go ahead and take a shot. Okay, so that was set at 0 with the micro focus adjust. And what you're going to do when you don't know which way your lens needs to go, you're going to pick one, and we're going to go from 0, we're going to go to +4. I'm going to take another shot, and then we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to go -4. Menu, autofocus, micro adjust, -4. So we've gone ahead and we've gone behind on our shot to see which one looks the clearest. And we're going to put these in Photoshop and take a good look and see. Before we do that, we're going to make absolutely sure by taking one more shot of each at -8 and +8. Actually, to keep our tests, we'll go +8 first. We did +4 first, we'll do +8 first. And then we'll go back in and we'll do it again with -8. And when we look at these in Photoshop, we'll know they may not be bang on, they may not be right perfect, because we're just getting we're trying to find out, do we need to back focus or do we need to front focus adjust this lens? Next step I'll show you guys will be in Photoshop. Okay guys, now this is the next step. What I've done is I took the files off of my camera and I made a new folder here and I dumped them in there. And this is where we have to be organized. So what we do is we're going to rename each of these pictures starting in order. The first one we did was a 7200 and it was micro focus adjusted to 0. So that's what I've called it. The next one we did was +4 and then -4. And then this one here, rename, was 7200 +8, and the last one was -8. So when we open these in Photoshop, there is no confusing which one was which, what order were they taken in, and that's why I say when you do your micro focus adjusting, always start with the pluses or the minuses first, whichever you choose. Just stick with that throughout your testing. So when you rename them and they're all in order, you know it goes 0, +4, -4, +8, -8, +12, -12, right? Okay, so I wanted to show you guys now. I've got all the files opened in PaintShop Pro 9, which is what I use, and they're all in the right order. So 0, +4, -4, +8, -8, and I actually went back to the camera and I took another one to show you -12, because as we know, that lens is really out of whack and it actually needs even more adjustment. But I'll show you guys the next steps. What we do is we go to number 0 and we're just going to zoom in. We're going to hit 120%. So that's going to give us a good clean view of the text. And then we're going to take the rest of these files and we're going to line up the text in all of them so that they overlap 100% perfectly aligned. And then we're going to look at them very closely and I'll show you the difference. Okay guys, so now we're zoomed in at 120% on this text and I've got all the files lined up. I'm going to click through them on the top and I'm going to show you. I'm going to try to hold this as steady as I can so you can see what's going on. So at 0, that's what this text looks like on this lens. When we go to +4, not much difference. There's 0, there's +4. Now let's go to -4. There's -4. Oh, let's compare 0 to -4. It's a little sharper, a little better. We know we're going in the right direction now. So let's go ahead and click on -8. Oh, -8 versus -4. It's a little sharper again. So we know these are big steps now we're taking. These are -4 micro adjustment steps, but we know we're going in the right direction at the minus. So I went ahead and took one more picture that I didn't show you guys. This is -12. Even sharper yet. -8, -12. And as we know, if I go 4 more steps with this, up to -16, this lens will be perfectly micro focused. So I'm going to show you guys 0 down to -12. And that's how I micro adjust my lenses. It's very small increments. Once you get close, -12 to -16 range, I'll do another set and I'll go up one at a time. -17, -18, -19 until I compare those and see which one is the sharpest. I'm also going to show you guys, put these files right in the video and overlap them. So I just want to show you guys again. Here's 0. That's pretty cruddy. When I was shooting this lens when I got it, I could not figure out what was wrong with it. Well, it needed micro adjustment. 0, +4 didn't make any difference. Here's our +8. It didn't make any difference. But when we went the other way, 0, -4, -8, -12. You can see it's definitely popping into the right zone of focus there. So there you guys have it. That's how I micro focus my lenses. I used to use the chart with the 45-degree angle and I got messed up results. So I use a straight 90-degree plane, hanging something on the wall, tripod setup, widest aperture you've got, make sure your focal plane is 90 degrees, and shoot a test series starting at 0 and do plus and minus until you figure out which direction it's getting better, and then you just fine tune it. If it's minuses and you're at -8 and you can't really tell the difference between -7 and -8, what I do is then I go back to the short end of my zoom range. If I can't decide at the long end if these 3 look the same, test it on the short end. And you're making a compromise, right? So if -7 looks a little bit better on the close end, but you can't tell the difference on the far end, maybe -7 is the setting you need to go with. Anyway, guys, it sounds complicated, but it's not. The most important part is to line these things up in Photoshop. It's a technique I've showed you guys in another video where I had problems with my A77 II, and I couldn't figure out why. And you can make a living off of this. Put them in Photoshop, line them up at 100%. You will notice every little detail change, color change, whatever it is you're looking for. It's a fantastic tool to use, have in your arsenal, and for micro focus adjusting, it's the way to go. Hope this helps you guys. Stay tuned. I'll give you some more tips next week.